Hi guys, tonight, we travel back into the world's most forgotten history. The night is quiet. The air is still. Far away, under a sky filled with countless stars, the land of ancient Egypt rests beside the slow waters of the Nile. The river moves softly through the darkness. Reeds sway along its banks. Small insects hum in the warm night air. Somewhere in the distance, a dog barks once and then falls silent again. Most people are asleep now. Inside simple mud-brick homes, families lie close together on woven mats. Their bodies are tired from a long day of work beneath the Egyptian sun. The heat of the day has finally faded. Cooler air drifts through narrow doorways. The smell of baked bread still lingers faintly in some houses. Oil lamps burn low. Many have already gone dark. And while the villages sleep, tomorrow's work is already waiting. Because in ancient Egypt, life moved according to a rhythm that rarely changed. The river rose. The river fell. Fields were planted. Fields were harvested. Bread was baked. Stone was cut. Boats crossed the water. Children grew. Workers aged. And each day began much the same as the one before. Tonight, we will spend time among those ordinary people. Not kings. Not generals. Not great conquerors. Instead, we will walk beside farmers, scribes, fishermen, servants, builders, merchants, and laborers. We will see how they organized their days. How they woke. How they worked. How they rested. And how an entire civilization quietly kept moving through countless small routines repeated over generations. For most Egyptians, the day began before sunrise. Long before the heat arrived. Long before bright light spread across the desert. In the darkness before dawn, villages slowly stirred to life. A faint gray color appeared along the eastern horizon. Roosters called from courtyards. Animals shifted in their pens. Some people woke naturally. Others were stirred by family members already moving about the house. A farmer might sit up slowly after a short night of sleep. His sleeping mat would be simple. His back might ache from yesterday's labor. Dust gathered everywhere in Egypt, and no home was completely free from it. He would stretch quietly. Perhaps rub tired eyes. Then step onto the cool floor. The morning air was often the most comfortable part of the entire day. For a little while, before the sun climbed higher, workers could move without feeling its full weight. In many homes, the first task was preparing food. The smell of grain filled the room. Women often rose early to begin grinding wheat or barley. This was hard work. A grinding stone could be used for hours each day. The motion was repetitive. Forward. Back. Forward. Back. The sound became part of everyday life. Children often woke to that familiar scraping sound. Generation after generation heard the same rhythm each morning. Soon dough was mixed. Small loaves were shaped. Ovens warmed. Smoke drifted upward into the brightening sky. Fresh bread was one of the most important foods in ancient Egypt. It appeared at nearly every meal. Workers depended on it. Farmers depended on it. Builders depended on it. Without bread, daily labor became much harder. As the first sunlight touched the tops of palm trees, villages grew busier. Doors opened. People stepped outside. Neighbors greeted one another. Animals were fed. Goats wandered through dusty pathways. Donkeys waited patiently beside walls. The Nile reflected soft gold light. Boats rocked gently against wooden posts. For many Egyptians, work began immediately. Time was precious during the cooler hours. Farmers often left home early. They carried simple tools: wooden hoes, baskets, ropes, perhaps a small supply of food for later in the day. The walk to the fields could be peaceful. Dusty paths stretched across the landscape. Birds moved through marsh grasses. The river glimmered nearby. Many fields depended completely upon the Nile. The river was the heart of Egyptian life. Without it, much of the surrounding land would have remained dry and difficult to farm. Every year, the Nile flooded. The water spread across fields. Rich dark soil settled upon the land. When floodwaters withdrew, farmers returned to begin another cycle of work. This pattern shaped the calendar itself. People organized much of their labor around the river's behavior. The flood season brought different tasks than the planting season. The planting season brought different tasks than harvest time. Everyone understood this rhythm. Children learned it early. Grandparents had known it all their lives. And long after they were gone, others would continue following the same pattern. As the morning continued, fields slowly filled with workers. Some planted seeds. Others repaired irrigation channels. Others guided animals through soft earth. Work often involved entire families. Children helped when they could. Older relatives contributed in whatever ways their bodies allowed. No one worked entirely alone. Life depended upon cooperation. The labor was steady. Not rushed. Not careless. Simply constant. The sun climbed higher. Light spread across the fields. The coolness of dawn slowly disappeared. By mid-morning, warmth settled over the land. Sweat appeared on foreheads. Workers adjusted head coverings. Hands became dusty. Feet became sore. Yet the work continued. Nearby, along the river itself, fishermen were already busy. The Nile provided more than water. It also provided food. Fishing boats drifted quietly across calm surfaces. Some fishermen cast nets. Others used hooks. Some worked alone. Many worked together. They understood the river well. They knew where fish gathered. They watched water movement carefully. Experience mattered. Knowledge passed from one generation to another. A father taught a son. An uncle taught a nephew. The lessons rarely came from written instructions. Instead, they came through years of observation. Years of practice. Years spent beside the water. The fisherman's days could be long. Hours passed beneath open skies. The sun reflected brightly from the river surface. Eyes narrowed against the light. Hands pulled wet nets from the water. Fish flashed silver before disappearing into baskets. The smell of river water followed them everywhere. By midday, many fishermen had already completed a large portion of their work. Others remained on the river much longer. Every day was different. The Nile offered no guarantees. Meanwhile, in towns and cities, another group of workers began their own routines. These were the scribes. Their work required different skills, different tools, different forms of discipline. A scribe's day often started early as well. But instead of heading toward fields, he might walk toward an office, storage building, temple, or administrative center. His hands remained cleaner than those of many laborers. Yet his responsibilities could be immense. Ancient Egypt relied heavily on records. Someone had to count grain. Someone had to track supplies. Someone had to record taxes. Someone had to note deliveries and work assignments. The written word helped organize a vast kingdom. and scribes made that possible. Many spent years learning their craft. Education required patience. Young students copied symbols again and again. Mistakes were corrected. Lessons repeated. Hours passed practicing handwriting. The training was demanding. But success offered opportunities unavailable to many others. A skilled scribe could spend much of his life working indoors, away from some of the harshest physical labor. Still, the work required concentration. A tired mind could make costly mistakes. As sunlight brightened courtyards and streets, scribes settled into daily tasks. Papyrus sheets were prepared. Brushes dipped. Records reviewed. Messages copied. Inventories checked. The work was quiet, orderly, methodical. Outside, however, Egypt remained busy. Merchants moved through markets. Donkeys carried goods. Voices drifted through narrow streets. The smell of food mixed with dust and warm air. Markets formed an important part of daily life. People arrived carrying products from many places. Grain, vegetables, fish, cloth, pottery, tools. Small exchanges happened constantly. Most people did not possess great wealth. Every item mattered. A basket, a jar, a loaf of bread, a piece of cloth. These ordinary objects formed the foundation of everyday living. The marketplace was not simply a place of trade. It was also a place of conversation. News traveled there. Neighbors met there. Stories were shared there. For a little while, workers could step away from their routines and interact with others. Yet even markets followed schedules shaped by daylight and temperature. As the sun rose higher, the heat became increasingly difficult. Shade grew valuable. People moved more slowly. Animals sought cooler places. The bright Egyptian sun ruled every activity. No one could ignore it. Builders knew this especially well. Across Egypt, groups of laborers worked on construction projects. Some repaired buildings. Some expanded storage facilities. Some shaped stone. Others carried materials from one location to another. The labor could be exhausting. Heavy blocks required teamwork. Ropes strained. Muscles tightened. Dust clung to skin. Voices coordinated movement. Carelessness could lead to injury. Many workers developed routines designed to conserve energy. They learned when to push harder. They learned when to rest briefly. Experience taught them how to survive long days beneath intense sunlight. Water became extremely important. So did shade. So did pacing. No one could maintain full strength endlessly. The body demanded limits. Even the strongest laborers eventually slowed. And as the day approached its hottest hours, all of Egypt seemed to feel the weight of the sun together. The fields shimmered. Roads appeared almost white beneath the light. Walls radiated heat. Air became still. Some workers paused to eat. Simple meals were common. Bread, vegetables, fish when available. Sometimes fruit. Food did not need to be elaborate. Its purpose was clear. Restore energy. Continue the day. Families often shared meals together whenever schedules allowed. Parents checked on children. Children listened to conversations. Elders offered advice. Small moments of rest became important parts of daily life. The afternoon still stretched ahead. And much work remained to be done. Far beyond the villages, the Nile continued flowing quietly south to north. unhurried, steady, ancient. The same river that watched workers begin their day would watch them finish it. And as shadows slowly lengthened across the land, another chapter of their daily routine would begin. The afternoon settles gently across the land. The sun still hangs high above Egypt, but its slow journey toward the western horizon has already begun. The light grows softer in ways that are almost impossible to notice from one moment to the next. Shadows stretch a little farther. Palm trees cast longer shapes across dusty ground. The Nile reflects broad bands of gold and silver beneath the afternoon sky. For the workers in the fields, this change is welcome. The hottest hours of the day can feel endless. The air often seems to stand still. The earth radiates warmth upward. Even the smallest task requires effort. Farmers continue their work carefully. A man bends to inspect young plants growing from dark soil left behind by the river's floods. His sandals sink slightly into the earth. Nearby, another worker clears a narrow irrigation channel that has become blocked by mud. Water must continue moving where it is needed. A single neglected channel can affect an entire section of crops. The work requires patience more than speed. Ancient Egyptian farming was filled with small responsibilities repeated again and again. A farmer walks a field, checks the soil, adjusts a channel, repairs a tool, returns the next day, and then repeats the process. Many days pass this way. Years pass this way. Entire lifetimes pass this way. The rhythm becomes familiar, almost comforting. Children who help in the fields learn these routines early. A young boy follows behind his father, carrying a basket that feels heavy in his small hands. He watches carefully. He notices how adults move through the field. He listens to instructions. The lessons do not come from books. They come from observation. The boy learns where water flows after a flood. He learns how to recognize healthy crops. He learns which tasks must be completed first each morning. Years later, he may teach the same lessons to his own children. Across Egypt, knowledge travels quietly through families. Generation after generation. The afternoon wind rises slightly. Not a strong wind. Just enough to stir loose dust from roads and pathways. The breeze moves through reeds along the riverbank. Small waves appear on the water. Fishermen notice these changes. Many remain busy throughout the afternoon. Some guide their boats toward familiar fishing areas. Others return from longer journeys along the river. Their wooden vessels move steadily across the water. The Nile serves as a road as much as a river. Travel by boat is often easier than travel across land. The water connects villages. It connects farms. It connects markets. It connects distant communities that might otherwise feel far apart. A merchant traveling by river can move goods with relative ease compared to carrying them across miles of dusty ground. And so boats become a common sight. Large boats, small boats, fishing boats, cargo boats, passenger boats. The river is rarely empty. A fisherman sitting quietly near the edge of his boat may spend long periods listening to little more than the movement of water. The gentle splash against wood. The rustle of reeds. The distant cries of birds. These sounds form the background of his working life. The river becomes almost like a companion. Familiar. Reliable. Always present. Back in the villages, many workshops remain active despite the heat. Potters shape clay. Carpenters work with wood. Weavers create cloth. The sounds of labor drift through narrow streets. The scrape of tools. The tapping of hammers. The turning of wheels. The voices of workers discussing their tasks. Many workshops are crowded spaces. Not large. Not grand. Simply practical places where people spend long hours producing the items needed for daily life. The potter's workshop may feel particularly warm. The kiln radiates heat into the surrounding area. Clay dust settles onto floors and clothing. Shelves hold jars in various stages of completion. A potter's hands rarely remain clean. The clay becomes part of everyday life. It sticks beneath fingernails. It dries upon skin. It covers work surfaces. Yet skilled hands can transform a lump of earth into something useful. A water jar. A bowl. A storage container. Objects that families rely upon every day. Nearby, weavers work patiently with thread and fabric. The process takes time. Many steps cannot be rushed. Hands move steadily. Patterns slowly emerge. Hours pass in concentrated effort. The finished cloth may eventually become clothing, household items, or goods for trade. Every object has a story behind it. Someone gathered materials. Someone shaped them. Someone carried them. Someone sold them. The daily work of countless ordinary people supports the entire society. Most Egyptians never become famous. Their names disappear into history. Yet their labor fills every corner of the ancient world. As the afternoon continues, scribes remain busy with their own responsibilities. Inside administrative buildings, records continue to grow. Shipments arrive. Numbers are checked. Documents are reviewed. Storage inventories are updated. A scribe sits cross-legged while carefully writing symbols across a sheet of papyrus. His work requires attention. The room is quieter than a marketplace or a workshop. Only the occasional sound of movement breaks the silence. The scratching of a brush. The turning of a document. The footsteps of a messenger entering with new information. Outside, sunlight pours into courtyards. Inside, records accumulate day after day. Ancient Egypt depends upon organization. Fields produce grain. Granaries store grain. Officials track grain. Workers receive grain. Every stage requires coordination. Without records, confusion could spread quickly. The scribe becomes a bridge connecting many parts of society. Though his work looks very different from that of a farmer or builder, both contribute to the same larger system. As afternoon gradually shifts toward evening, families begin thinking about the end of the workday. Not everyone finishes at the same time. Some tasks demand longer hours. Some workers live farther from home. But the approaching evening influences everyone. The sunlight changes color. The sky softens. Birds become more active. Animals stir. A sense of transition settles across the land. For servants working in wealthy households, evening preparations may already be underway. Floors are swept. Food is prepared. Storage areas are checked. Water is carried. Many servants spend much of their day moving from one task directly into another. Their responsibilities can seem endless. One chore finishes. Another begins. The work is rarely dramatic. It is simply necessary. A household cannot function without attention to countless small details. Cooking. Cleaning. Maintaining supplies. Caring for children. Assisting older family members. These tasks often remain invisible in official records, yet they occupy enormous portions of daily life. A woman kneads dough as afternoon light enters through a doorway. A young girl helps arrange cooking vessels. Nearby, someone gathers fuel for an evening fire. The smells of food slowly spread through the home. Bread, vegetables, fish, perhaps onions or herbs. The aromas mingle together. They drift into courtyards, into streets, into neighboring homes. Across the village, similar scenes unfold. Families prepare for another meal. The evening meal often carries special importance. Work is slowing. People are returning home. For a little while, family members can share the same space again. The day begins to gather itself together. Farmers start leaving the fields. Tools are collected. Animals are guided home. Footsteps stir dust along familiar paths. Bodies feel tired. Muscles ache. Skin is warm from hours beneath the sun. Yet there is comfort in returning home. A farmer walks beside neighbors he has known for years. Conversation comes easily. Perhaps they discuss water levels. Perhaps they discuss crops. Perhaps they simply enjoy the quiet companionship of walking together. The village grows busier as workers return. Children play near doorways. Dogs wander through narrow streets. Voices fill the evening air. The day's labor has not disappeared, but it begins to feel more distant. A different rhythm now takes hold. Along the Nile, boats return toward shore. Fishermen unload their catch. Nets are inspected for damage. Equipment is cleaned. Tomorrow's work requires preparation today. A torn net left unrepaired can create problems later. And so many workers perform small maintenance tasks before fully resting. Tools are checked. Ropes are examined. Supplies are organized. These routines save effort in the future. They become habits repeated so often that they require little thought. The ancient world depends heavily upon such habits. There are few shortcuts. Preparation matters. Care matters. Consistency matters. As the sun lowers farther, the colors of Egypt begin to change. The bright whites and yellows of afternoon soften into warmer shades. Golden light spreads across mudbrick walls. Palm leaves glow gently. The Nile appears almost luminous. This is one of the most beautiful times of day. Not because anyone stops to admire it for long. Most people remain occupied. But the landscape itself seems calmer. More peaceful. The harshness of midday fades. The world becomes easier on tired eyes. In larger settlements, merchants begin finishing their business. Goods are packed away. Transactions conclude. Customers return home carrying purchases. The noise of the marketplace slowly diminishes. A merchant counts supplies before closing his stall. Tomorrow will bring another day of trade. Another day of conversation. Another day of carrying goods beneath the Egyptian sun. The cycle never truly stops. It simply pauses for a few hours each night. Evening shadows lengthen further. The western sky glows orange. Then amber. Then soft red. People notice the fading light. Without modern illumination, daylight remains precious. Tasks requiring clear vision must be completed before darkness arrives. The setting sun influences everything. Workers become more aware of time. Movements grow slightly quicker. Final chores are completed. Animals are secured. Water jars are filled. Doors are checked. The village prepares itself for night. Yet before sleep arrives, there is still a precious period between labor and rest. A period when families gather together. When meals are shared. When stories are exchanged. When tired bodies finally have a chance to sit still. And as darkness slowly approaches the Nile, oil lamps begin appearing one by one, their small flames flickering gently against the growing evening shadows. As the last light of day slowly fades beyond the western horizon, Egypt begins to settle into evening. The heat that ruled the afternoon starts to loosen its grip upon the land. The air remains warm, but it becomes easier to breathe. A gentle breeze drifts across the Nile and wanders through villages, carrying the scent of water, earth, and distant cooking fires. One by one, small lamps are lit. Their soft flames glow inside mudbrick homes. Golden light spills across walls. Shadows move quietly across floors. Outside, the sky deepens from orange to purple and then to a rich blue filled with stars. For many workers, this is the most peaceful part of the day. The labor is finished. The tools are put away. The fields can wait until morning. A farmer lowers himself onto a simple stool near the entrance of his home. His legs feel heavy after many hours of walking, bending, lifting, and carrying. Dust covers his sandals. His hands are rough from years of work. For a few moments, he simply sits. The evening breeze brushes against his face. Nearby, children talk softly among themselves. Someone laughs. Someone calls a family member inside for supper. The sounds are familiar. Comforting. Nothing unusual. Nothing dramatic. Just the ordinary music of daily life. Inside many homes, the evening meal is being prepared. The smell of fresh bread fills the air. Clay ovens slowly cool after a day of use. Steam rises from cooking pots. Vegetables are arranged in bowls. Fish caught earlier from the Nile may be cleaned and prepared. Simple meals often taste especially satisfying after a long day of labor. Not because they are extravagant, but because hunger makes even ordinary food feel welcome. Families gather together as space allows. Many homes are small. People sit close to one another. Conversations drift through the room. Children share stories from the day. Adults discuss tomorrow's work. An older relative remembers events from years before. Voices remain gentle. No one wishes to spend precious evening hours arguing. The day has already demanded enough energy. Now people seek comfort. Food. Company. Rest. These become the treasures of evening. In one village, a fisherman returns home carrying the scent of river water on his clothes. His shoulders ache from handling nets. His hands feel stiff. Throughout the day he has watched the shifting surface of the Nile, searching for signs that experience has taught him to recognize. Now those concerns fade for a while. The river will still be there tomorrow. Tonight belongs to rest. His family listens as he describes conditions on the water. Perhaps the catch was good. Perhaps it was modest. Either way, the day is finished. The stories become part of the family's evening routine. Across Egypt, similar conversations take place in countless homes. Workers share details of ordinary days. A repaired irrigation channel. A broken tool. A successful market exchange. A neighbor's new child. Small events that might never appear in any official record. Yet these small events form the true fabric of everyday life. Far away from royal palaces and grand temples, ordinary people build their lives from moments exactly like these. As darkness deepens, many village streets become quieter. Without bright lights, people naturally spend less time moving about after sunset. The world grows smaller. More intimate. Most activity centers around the home. Oil lamps flicker softly. Their light reaches only a short distance. Beyond that glow, Shadows gather. The night sky becomes increasingly impressive. Ancient Egyptians lived beneath remarkably dark skies. Stars appeared in astonishing numbers. Constellations stretched across the heavens. The Milky Way formed a pale river above the earth. For those who paused to look upward, the night could feel endless. A young child lies beside a doorway, gazing at the stars while listening to adults talk nearby. The air has cooled pleasantly. Crickets sing from hidden places. The village feels calm, safe, protected by familiarity. The same stars watched his grandparents. The same stars will watch future generations. Life changes slowly here. The rhythm remains steady. Meanwhile, in larger towns, some activity continues later into the evening. Guards patrol certain areas. Temple workers complete final duties. Travelers arriving late search for places to rest. Yet even these busier places gradually surrender to the night. The pace slows. Voices become quieter. Footsteps become less frequent. Darkness encourages rest. And rest is precious. The human body demands recovery after long days of labor. Builders especially understand this. Construction work leaves its mark on the body. Heavy lifting strains muscles. Repeated motions wear down joints. Long hours under the sun create deep exhaustion. Many builders return home carrying visible signs of their work. Dust clings to their skin. Minor cuts mark their hands. Their shoulders feel heavy. Their backs ache. Yet these conditions are familiar companions. They have known them for years. Perhaps for decades. After supper, a builder may sit quietly outside his home, allowing evening air to cool his body. He listens to distant sounds from neighboring houses. A dog barking. A baby crying. Someone singing softly. Nothing unusual. Nothing demanding attention. Just reminders that life continues all around him. Many workers cherish these moments. Not because they are exciting, but because they are peaceful. The demands of the day finally loosen. The body can rest. The mind can wander. Nearby, women continue certain household tasks even after the main meal has ended. Cooking vessels must be cleaned. Food must be stored. Preparations for tomorrow often begin before today is fully finished. Water jars are checked. Supplies are organized. Clothing may be repaired. The work of maintaining a household rarely disappears entirely. Yet evening allows these tasks to unfold at a gentler pace. The urgency of daylight labor is gone. There is time to move more slowly. Time to speak with family members while working. Time to pause and enjoy the cooler air. In one home, an elderly woman sits beside a lamp and repairs a worn piece of cloth. Her hands move carefully. Years of experience guide each motion. Children gather nearby. Perhaps she tells stories while she works. Stories passed down through generations. Memories of floods, harvests, journeys along the Nile. People she knew long ago. The children listen. Not because the stories are grand, but because they connect them to their family, to their community, to the world around them. Ancient Egypt is built not only from stone and monuments. It is also built from conversations beside evening lamps. From lessons shared between generations. From quiet moments inside modest homes. These things leave fewer traces behind. Yet they shape daily life just as powerfully. As night deepens further, tiredness spreads across the villages. Children begin falling asleep. Some do not even reach their sleeping mats before drifting off. A young boy leans against a parent's shoulder. His eyes grow heavy. The sounds around him become distant. Soon he is asleep. Adults smile softly. They have seen this happen countless times. Eventually they too will seek rest. Tomorrow begins early. Very early. The fields will not wait. The river will not wait. The workshops will not wait. Ancient Egyptian life follows a demanding schedule. Rest is not laziness. Rest is necessary. Without it, the work cannot continue. Many sleeping arrangements are simple. Woven mats, low beds, blankets when needed. Homes are often designed to allow airflow during warm nights. People adapt to their environment as best they can. The desert climate influences every aspect of daily living. The hottest hours encourage caution. The coolest hours encourage activity. Generations learn these patterns instinctively. Outside, the Nile continues its endless journey through the darkness. The river never sleeps. Water moves silently beneath moonlight. Reeds sway gently along the banks. A boat tied near shore creaks softly against its rope. The scene feels timeless. Almost unchanged from one generation to the next. Somewhere along the river, a watchman remains awake. His duty requires alertness while others rest. The work is lonely at times. He listens to the night sounds. The splash of fish. The rustling of plants. The distant call of birds. Hours pass slowly. Yet even his task forms part of Egypt's great system of daily organization. Every role matters. Every worker contributes something. The farmer grows food. The fisherman gathers food. The builder creates structures. The merchant distributes goods. The scribe keeps records. The servant maintains households. The watchman guards property. Each person's routine connects with countless others. Together they create a civilization that continues year after year. Most never meet the king. Most never enter a palace. Most never participate in great events remembered by history. Yet their labor supports everything around them. Their daily schedules become the hidden foundation beneath the visible world. As midnight approaches, silence grows deeper. Many lamps have gone dark. Homes rest beneath the stars. The village pathways stand empty. Only occasional sounds disturb the stillness. A distant animal. A whisper of wind. The quiet movement of the Nile. And within the sleeping homes, tired workers recover from another long day. Their breathing becomes slow and steady. Tomorrow's concerns fade into dreams. For now, the fields are quiet. The workshops are quiet. The marketplaces are quiet. Even the river seems softer beneath the moonlight. And while Egypt sleeps, another day quietly waits beyond the horizon, preparing to begin again with the first pale light of dawn. Long before the sun rises, before the first birds begin to stir among the reeds, ancient Egypt rests beneath a blanket of darkness. The stars remain bright overhead. The Nile glides quietly through the night. Cool air settles across the villages and fields. For a few precious hours, the world feels still. Most workers are asleep. Their bodies recover from yesterday's labor. Their hands, sore from carrying tools and baskets, finally rest. Their feet, tired from long walks across dusty paths, remain motionless. Inside mudbrick homes, families sleep close together. The walls hold traces of the day's warmth. A faint scent of bread, smoke, and earth lingers in the air. Some people dream. Others sleep deeply enough to notice nothing at all. The village itself seems to breathe slowly. Quietly. patiently. Yet even during these peaceful hours, Egypt is already preparing for another day. The first signs are subtle. A distant animal shifts in its enclosure. A donkey stamps a hoof against the ground. A dog lifts its head and then settles again. The eastern horizon remains dark, but change is coming. It always comes. The cycle never stops. Day follows night. Night follows day. The rhythm has guided Egyptian life for countless generations. Eventually, a faint gray line appears far away in the east. It is almost invisible at first. Only a slight difference between sky and earth. Then slowly, very slowly, the darkness begins to retreat. Morning approaches. In one small home near the Nile, a woman wakes before anyone else. She sits quietly for a moment. The house remains silent around her. She listens. The breathing of sleeping children. The occasional creak of the building. The distant sounds of animals beginning to wake. Soon she rises and begins the first tasks of the day. Many mornings start this way. Not with sudden activity. Not with noise. But with one person quietly beginning the routines that keep a household running. She prepares grain. Checks supplies. Arranges tools. The movements are familiar. Her hands know what to do without much thought. She has performed these tasks thousands of times. Outside, the sky grows lighter. A pale glow spreads across the horizon. Birds begin calling from the reeds along the riverbank. Their voices carry through the cool air. The village slowly awakens. One doorway opens. Then another. Then another. People emerge into the early morning light. Some stretch tired muscles. Some fetch water. Others prepare for the long hours ahead. The coolest part of the day has arrived. Many workers prefer to begin as much labor as possible before the sun grows strong. A farmer steps outside carrying simple tools. The air feels pleasant against his skin. For now, the heat remains far away. The fields wait quietly in the distance. He begins walking. Dust rises softly beneath his sandals. The path is familiar. He has walked it nearly every day for years. Perhaps even decades. Around him, other farmers join the journey. Neighbors greet one another. Conversations remain soft. Morning has a different mood than afternoon. The day still feels full of possibility. The body is rested. Energy has returned. Work has not yet become exhausting. For a little while, the world feels lighter. As the farmers move toward the fields, the Nile catches the first rays of sunlight. The water glows gently. Mist sometimes hangs above certain sections of the river. Small boats rest near shore. Their owners will arrive soon. The river itself seems to wake alongside the people. A fisherman approaches his boat carrying nets over one shoulder. The fibers feel rough against his skin. He checks each section carefully. Damage must be repaired before problems grow larger. A small tear can become a large tear. A weak knot can fail at the wrong moment. The fisherman has learned that preparation saves effort later. Many Egyptian workers understand this lesson well. Their lives depend upon attention to small details. The fisherman pushes away from shore. The boat rocks gently beneath him. Water ripples outward. Soon he is moving through the quiet morning light. The village gradually becomes smaller behind him. Ahead lies another day upon the Nile. Nearby, in the fields, farmers begin their labor. Some inspect crops. Some guide animals. Others work with irrigation systems. The Nile provides life, but its water must often be directed carefully. Channels carry water where it is needed. Banks require maintenance. Mud must be cleared. The work never completely ends. Nature constantly changes. Workers constantly respond. This partnership between human effort and river water shapes nearly every aspect of Egyptian agriculture. A farmer crouches beside a channel and studies the flow. The water moves steadily. Not too fast. Not too slow. Satisfied, he continues along the field. His shadow stretches long across the ground. The sun remains low. The day still feels young. Children often help with morning tasks as well. Their responsibilities vary from family to family. Some carry water. Some assist with animals. Others help prepare food or gather supplies. Work becomes part of life from an early age. Not because anyone wishes to burden children, but because households depend upon cooperation. Every helping hand matters. A young girl balances a small container while walking carefully beside her mother. The task requires concentration. She watches every step. Over time she will become more confident, more skilled. Eventually she will perform the task without thinking, just as generations before her have done. The lessons of daily life are taught through repetition. Again and again. Day after day. Year after year. As sunlight strengthens, activity spreads throughout the villages. Workshops open their doors. Potters begin shaping clay. Carpenters arrange tools. Weavers prepare thread. The sounds of labor slowly return. A hammer strikes wood. A wheel turns. Voices drift through narrow streets. The village is fully awake now. The peaceful stillness of night has given way to purposeful movement. In one workshop, a potter sits before a spinning wheel. A lump of clay waits nearby. His hands are already stained from previous work. He places the clay carefully and begins shaping it. The transformation appears almost magical. What begins as a simple mass of earth slowly becomes a vessel. A jar. A bowl. A storage container. Yet the process is not magic at all. It is skill. Skill developed through years of practice. The potter knows exactly how much pressure to apply. He knows when the clay is too wet. He knows when it is too dry. His knowledge comes from experience. Thousands of hours spent working with the same material. Nearby, another craftsman repairs wooden tools used by farmers. Handles wear out. Wood cracks. Equipment breaks. Without repairs, daily work becomes much harder. The craftsman's role may seem small, yet many workers depend upon him. A damaged tool affects an entire day. Perhaps several days. Good maintenance saves time and effort for everyone. As the morning progresses, scribes also begin their duties. Their workplaces differ greatly from fields and workshops. Yet they follow routines just as carefully. A scribe enters an administrative building and prepares his materials. Papyrus. Brushes. Ink. Documents waiting to be reviewed. The room feels cool compared to the growing heat outside. Sunlight enters through openings in the walls. Dust drifts through beams of light. The atmosphere is calm. Orderly. Quiet. Soon records begin accumulating. Deliveries must be tracked. Supplies counted. Work assignments documented. The flow of information moves steadily through the hands of scribes. Without them, much of Egypt's organization would become difficult to maintain. Numbers matter. Records matter. Memory alone cannot manage everything. And so the scribes write. Hour after hour. Day after day. Outside, merchants are already arranging goods for sale. The marketplace slowly comes alive. Baskets appear. Pottery is displayed. Food is prepared. Customers arrive. Conversations begin. Markets are among the most social places in Egyptian life. People exchange more than goods. They exchange information, stories, news, opinions. A merchant greets familiar customers. Many relationships have existed for years. Trust develops gradually. A fair trader earns respect. People remember honesty. They also remember dishonesty. Reputation travels quickly through close communities. As the sun climbs higher, the marketplace grows busier. Voices overlap. Animals move through the crowd. The smell of fresh bread mixes with the scent of dust and warm earth. Life flows in every direction. Yet beneath all this activity lies a remarkable sense of order. Most people know exactly what they should be doing. The farmer understands his fields. The fisherman understands the river. The potter understands clay. The scribe understands records. The merchant understands trade. Their days may differ greatly, but all are organized around routine. Routine creates stability. Routine creates predictability. Routine helps entire communities function smoothly. And perhaps nowhere is this more visible than in the countless small tasks performed each morning across Egypt. Tasks so ordinary that many people barely think about them. Fetching water. Preparing bread. Repairing tools. Checking supplies. Feeding animals. Cleaning workspaces. Opening market stalls. Inspecting fishing nets. Reviewing records. Each task seems simple on its own. Yet together they form the foundation of daily life. The sun continues its slow climb into the sky. Light grows brighter. Shadows shorten. The warmth begins to build once more. Another Egyptian day is fully underway. Across the fields, villages, workshops, and riverbanks, thousands upon thousands of workers settle into familiar routines that have guided their lives for years. And as the Nile glimmers beneath the strengthening morning sun, the great rhythm of ancient Egypt continues, steady and unhurried, carrying every worker gently through the hours ahead. The morning grows brighter with each passing hour. The sun climbs steadily above the eastern horizon, spreading warm light across the fields, villages, and waterways of Egypt. What began as a cool and gentle dawn slowly transforms into another working day beneath the desert sky. Along the Nile, the water sparkles in countless places where sunlight touches its surface. The river remains the center of everything. It feeds the fields. It carries boats. It provides fish. It shapes travel. It marks the passage of seasons. Many Egyptians begin and end their days with the river somewhere nearby. Even those who do not work directly upon the water feel its presence constantly. A farmer pauses for a moment beside an irrigation channel. He watches water moving through a narrow passage cut into the earth. The current is not strong. It does not rush. Instead it flows quietly and steadily, exactly as he hopes it will. Water that arrives too quickly can damage fields. Water that arrives too slowly may not reach every crop. Balance is important. Much of farming involves small adjustments. Small observations. Small corrections. A worker notices a weak section of a bank and presses fresh mud into place. Another removes debris caught in the channel. These tasks may seem insignificant, yet they are repeated countless times throughout Egypt. Civilizations often appear grand from a distance. Temples, monuments, palaces. But daily life depends upon ordinary people performing ordinary tasks with care. The farmer understands this even if he never thinks about it directly. He simply knows what must be done. Nearby, several workers guide animals through a field. The animals move patiently beneath the growing sun. Dust rises around their feet. Birds follow behind, searching the disturbed soil for insects. The scene unfolds much as it has for generations. Grandparents once stood in these same fields. Parents worked here. Children now learn the same routines. The landscape changes slowly. The rhythm remains familiar. As the day advances, the sounds of labor spread across the countryside. Voices carry through open spaces. Tools scrape against earth. Animals call to one another. The occasional splash of water echoes from irrigation channels. These sounds become so common that many people barely notice them anymore. They form the background music of daily life. A child growing up in ancient Egypt hears these sounds from the earliest years. The noises become associated with safety, with home, with routine, with the steady movement of life itself. Farther down the Nile, fishermen continue work. The morning often provides favorable conditions. The air remains calmer than it will later in the day. The light helps reveal subtle movements on the water. A fisherman stands carefully in a small boat. Years of experience have taught him how to balance effortlessly. The boat shifts slightly beneath his feet. He barely notices. His attention remains focused on the river. Every ripple tells a story. Every movement may reveal opportunity. Fishing requires patience. Hours can pass quietly. Sometimes there is little conversation. Only observation. Waiting. Watching. Listening. The fisherman grows accustomed to solitude. The river becomes a familiar companion. He knows its moods, its seasons, its habits. In many ways, he understands the Nile almost as another person. Not because he imagines it speaking, but because he has spent so much of his life beside it. The relationship feels deeply familiar. Meanwhile, villages continue buzzing with activity. The streets are busier now. People move between homes, workshops, and marketplaces. Donkeys carry loads along dusty paths. Children run errands for parents. Neighbors stop briefly to exchange news. Life unfolds through thousands of small interactions. A woman carrying water pauses to speak with a friend. A merchant greets a regular customer. A craftsman asks about a recent delivery of materials. None of these conversations seem particularly important. Yet together they strengthen the bonds of community. People learn to rely upon one another. Trust develops gradually. Friendships form over years of shared experiences. Many Egyptians spend most of their lives surrounded by familiar faces. They know the families living nearby. They know who grows the best vegetables, who repairs tools, who catches fish, who bakes bread. The village functions almost like a living organism. Each person contributes something necessary. Within the workshops, labor continues steadily. Potters shape clay vessels that will eventually hold water, grain, oil, or food. The work demands concentration. A moment of carelessness can ruin hours of effort. The clay responds to every movement of the hands. Too much pressure can distort a vessel. Too little pressure can leave it weak. The potter learns to trust his fingers, to feel small changes in texture and moisture. His knowledge is difficult to explain fully. Much of it exists through experience rather than words. A young apprentice watches closely. The lessons are absorbed gradually. One observation at a time. One correction at a time. Years pass before true mastery develops. This is true for many occupations. Ancient Egypt relies upon skill accumulated through repetition. Patience becomes one of the most valuable qualities a worker can possess. In another workshop, carpenters shape wood into useful objects. Wood is precious in Egypt. Large forests are rare. Materials must often be used carefully. Nothing is wasted unnecessarily. A carpenter studies a piece of timber before making a cut. Mistakes can be costly. Every decision matters. The smell of fresh cut wood fills the air. Tiny shavings gather on the floor. Sunlight enters through an open doorway and illuminates floating dust. The scene is peaceful despite the work. There is no need for hurry. Good craftsmanship requires steady hands. Steady hands require calm minds. As the sun rises higher, scribes continue their duties inside administrative buildings. The contrast between their work and that of farmers remains striking. While laborers bend over fields, scribes bend over documents. While fishermen watch the river, scribes watch rows of symbols. Yet both forms of work demand focus. Both require discipline. A scribe carefully records the contents of a storage facility. Sacks of grain. Containers of oil. Bundles of supplies. Everything must be counted accurately. Records create order. Order helps prevent confusion. The written word becomes a tool as important in its own way as any farming implement. Hours pass quietly. Brushes move across papyrus. Ink dries. Additional documents arrive. The work continues. Outside, the heat begins to build more noticeably. The cool freshness of dawn is now a memory. Sunlight grows stronger. The earth warms beneath countless feet. People become increasingly aware of the coming afternoon. Workers adjust their pace. Experienced laborers understand the importance of conserving energy. The hottest part of the day has not yet arrived. But it is coming. Everyone knows it. The climate shapes behavior as surely as any law or custom. A farmer takes a brief pause beneath limited shade. He drinks water. Wipes sweat from his brow. Then returns to work. Such pauses are practical. Necessary. The body can only endure so much before demanding relief. Across Egypt, workers have developed countless small habits that help them manage the challenges of heat and exhaustion. A head covering adjusted slightly. A water jar placed in a shaded location. Tasks organized so that the most demanding work occurs earlier in the day. These choices emerge naturally from experience. Generation after generation discovers what works best. Knowledge accumulates. Life adapts. At the marketplace, activity reaches a busy rhythm. Customers move from stall to stall. Merchants discuss prices and quantities. Food vendors serve hungry workers. The smell of fresh bread drifts through the air once again. Bread appears almost everywhere in Egyptian life. Morning. Midday. Evening. Rich or poor. Young or old. Most people encounter bread multiple times throughout the day. The process of producing it requires tremendous effort. Farmers grow grain. Workers harvest grain. Others transport it. Others grind it. Others bake it. An entire chain of labor stands behind every loaf. Most people rarely stop to think about this. The bread simply arrives as part of daily life. Yet countless hands contribute to its creation. As the morning approaches its final hours, shadows become shorter. The sky appears brighter. The warmth settles more heavily upon the land. The Nile continues flowing steadily through it all. Boats glide across the water. Fields stretch along its banks. Villages remain active. Workshops hum with activity. Everywhere, people follow routines shaped by years of practice and necessity. The organization of Egyptian daily work is not controlled by clocks. It is guided by sunlight, by seasons, by the river, by weather, by tradition. The rhythm feels natural because it has been refined over generations. People rise when work must begin. They rest when their bodies require it. They organize tasks according to the conditions around them. And as the sun climbs toward its highest point in the sky, workers throughout Egypt quietly prepare themselves for the long, warm hours that still lie ahead. As the sun climbs closer to the center of the sky, a subtle change passes across the land. The morning energy remains, but the warmth grows heavier. The bright light settles over the fields and villages like a golden blanket. Shadows shrink beneath trees and walls. The air becomes still in many places. The earth begins releasing the heat it has been gathering since dawn. Across Egypt, workers feel this change without needing to look at the sky. Their bodies know. Their routines know. The day is entering a different stage. In the fields beside the Nile, farmers continue their work with steady determination. A man bends to inspect a row of crops. Sweat gathers along his forehead. Dust clings to his ankles. His clothing hangs loosely in the growing heat. He pauses briefly. Not because the task is complete. Simply because his body asks for a moment. A sip of water. A slower breath. A glance across the field. Then he resumes. The field stretches before him in neat sections. Some areas are newly planted. Others are already showing signs of growth. Each section requires attention. Each section has its own needs. The farmer moves from one task to another, guided by experience gathered over many seasons. He does not rush. Rushing rarely helps. The work will take the time it takes. The crops cannot be hurried. The river cannot be hurried. Even the seasons themselves move at their own pace. This understanding shapes much of Egyptian life. Patience is not viewed as unusual. It is simply part of surviving and working within the natural world. Nearby, several laborers repair a section of irrigation channel damaged by recent water flow. They work together. One carries baskets of mud. Another smooths the channel wall. A third checks the water level. The labor is repetitive but important. Without these channels, fields would struggle. The river provides life, but only if its waters are directed carefully. The workers understand this. Their fathers understood it. Their grandfathers understood it. The knowledge flows through generations much like the Nile itself. As the heat grows stronger, sounds across the countryside become slightly quieter. Conversations shorten. Movements become more deliberate. Animals seek shade whenever possible. Goats gather beside walls. Donkeys stand beneath palm trees. Even birds seem less active during the brightest hours. The entire landscape adjusts to the conditions. Along the Nile, fishermen continue their work, though many are careful not to waste energy. A fisherman sits quietly inside his boat. The river surface reflects the brilliant sky above. The light can be intense. He shields his eyes with one hand and watches the water. Patience remains one of his greatest tools. The river rewards observation. Hours spent paying attention often matter more than hurried effort. His boat drifts gently. A soft breeze moves across the water. The reeds along the shore sway lightly. For a moment, the world feels almost silent. Only the occasional splash breaks the stillness. Moments like these are common on the Nile. Simple moments. Peaceful moments. Moments that blend together over years until they become the texture of a lifetime. Farther inland, villages remain busy despite the growing heat. Workshops continue operating. Merchants continue trading. Households continue managing countless daily responsibilities. Life cannot stop simply because the sun is high. Yet people adapt where they can. In one pottery workshop, the thick walls provide some protection from the heat outside. The air remains warm, but slightly more comfortable. The potter continues shaping vessels with careful hands. Rows of finished jars stand nearby. Some wait to dry. Others wait to be fired. The workshop carries familiar scents. Clay. Dust. Smoke from earlier kill fires. The potter has spent so many years here that he barely notices these smells anymore. They have become part of his world. Part of his identity. A young apprentice works nearby. His movements are less confident. His vessels less symmetrical. Yet he learns through practice. Mistakes are expected. Improvement comes gradually. No one masters a craft in a single season. The apprentice watches carefully. Listens carefully. Repeats tasks again and again. One day, he too may become highly skilled. For now, patience is his greatest teacher. Elsewhere, weavers continue their work. The process is slow. Methodical. Thread passes through patient hands. Patterns emerge little by little. Hours of labor create only small sections of finished cloth. Yet no one expects speed. Quality matters. Durability matters. A well-made piece of cloth may serve a family for years. The weaver understands this responsibility. Every thread contributes to the final result. Sunlight filters through an open doorway and falls across the loom. Dust particles drift through the beam of light. Outside, the village hums quietly. Inside, the rhythm of weaving continues. Steady. Predictable. Calm. In administrative buildings, scribes remain focused on their records. The heat outside feels distant. Documents continue arriving. Inventories continue growing. Numbers continue being checked. A scribe sits with remarkable concentration. His brush moves carefully across papyrus. Small mistakes require correction. Accuracy matters. The records may influence food distribution, labor assignments, storage management, or tax collection. The written word carries responsibility. Though the work lacks the physical demands of farming or construction, it brings its own form of fatigue. Hours of concentration can be exhausting. Eyes become tired. Hands become stiff. The mind grows weary. Every occupation has its burdens. Some strain the body. Some strain the mind. Most strain both. By late morning, the marketplace reaches one of its busiest periods. Customers arrive from nearby fields and villages. Merchants call out greetings. Conversations overlap. Children move through the crowd carrying baskets or containers. The smell of food drifts through the warm air. Fresh bread. Cooked vegetables. Fish prepared earlier in the morning. The marketplace is not merely a center of trade. It is also a center of community. People exchange information as often as they exchange goods. News travels quickly here. A successful harvest. A recent birth. A planned marriage. Changes in river conditions. Everything eventually becomes known. Information spreads from person to person, carried through ordinary conversation. A merchant may spend years building trust among customers. People remember reliability. They remember fairness. Business depends as much upon reputation as upon products. Many relationships in Egypt are strengthened through repeated daily contact. Neighbors become friends. Customers become familiar faces. Workers learn to depend upon one another. The connections are woven through daily life just as threads are woven into cloth. As noon approaches, the sunlight becomes almost overwhelming. The sky appears pale and brilliant above the land. Heat rises from roads and open ground. Workers become increasingly aware of conserving energy. This is not weakness. It is wisdom. Experience teaches what the body can endure. A builder working on a construction project wipes dust from his face. His muscles ache from lifting stone. The work requires strength, but also coordination. Large tasks often involve many workers acting together. Communication becomes essential. A stone moved carelessly can create danger. A stone moved properly becomes part of something lasting. The builder pauses beneath a patch of shade. Nearby, other laborers do the same. Water is shared. Brief conversations take place. Then work resumes. No one lingers too long. The day's responsibilities remain. Throughout Egypt, similar scenes unfold. Farmers pause and continue. Fishermen pause and continue. Craftsmen pause and continue. Servants pause and continue. The rhythm remains remarkably consistent. Work. Rest briefly. Work again. This pattern repeats countless times throughout a lifetime. Inside homes, many women continue managing household responsibilities that often receive little attention in official records. Food preparation remains a constant task. Water must be gathered. Storage areas organized. Children supervised. Clothing maintained. The list never truly ends. A woman kneads dough in a shaded courtyard. Nearby, a child helps sort grain. The tasks seem ordinary because they are ordinary. Yet entire households depend upon them. Without these daily efforts, everything else becomes more difficult. The smooth functioning of Egyptian society rests upon countless unseen acts of labor performed each day. As noon finally arrives, the heat settles fully across the landscape. The fields shimmer beneath the sunlight. The roads appear nearly white. Palm trees stand motionless against the bright sky. The Nile continues its steady journey through the center of it all. Its waters reflect the sun in dazzling flashes. Boats move slowly across its surface. Life continues. Always continues. The great rhythm of Egyptian work does not stop. It simply adjusts itself to the realities of the day. And as workers across the land begin navigating the hottest hours of the afternoon, the ancient world moves forward with the same quiet persistence that has guided it for generations beside the timeless waters of the Nile. The afternoon settles over Egypt like a slow-moving wave of warmth. The sun stands high above the land, pouring light across fields, villages, workshops, and riverbanks. The brightest hours of the day have arrived. For many workers, this is the most demanding time. The morning's freshness is gone. The cool breeze that drifted across the Nile at dawn feels like a distant memory. Now the air itself seems heavier. The earth radiates warmth. Stone walls hold heat. Dusty roads shimmer beneath the sunlight. Yet life continues. It always continues. Across the fertile lands bordering the Nile, farmers move through their fields with patient determination. A man carrying a wooden hoe walks slowly along an irrigation channel. His shadow is small now, tucked close beneath him. Sweat darkens his clothing. His feet know every uneven place along the familiar path. He pauses beside a section of earth where water is not flowing correctly. For several moments he studies it. There is no hurry. Problems are solved carefully. A rushed repair often creates another problem later. He kneels and begins adjusting the channel. His hands become coated with damp mud. The water responds almost immediately. A thin stream begins moving where it should. The farmer watches for a moment longer. Satisfied, he rises, and continues onward. Much of agricultural work is like this. Small observations. Small corrections. Small victories. Most days are not marked by dramatic events. Instead, they are built from hundreds of ordinary decisions made with patience and care. Nearby, another farmer works with his son. The boy is still young. His arms are not yet strong enough for the heaviest labor. But he watches closely. The father explains what to look for. How to recognize healthy plants. How to notice changes in the soil. How to judge the movement of water. The lessons come naturally. Not as formal instruction. Simply through working together. This is how knowledge travels through generations. Not only through words, but through shared experience. Hour after hour. Season after season. The afternoon sun shines down upon them both. One day, the boy will likely stand in the same field, teaching another child the same lessons. Along the Nile, the river provides a measure of relief from the heat. The water reflects the brilliant sky above. Gentle currents move steadily northward. The river's presence softens the harshness of the day. Many fishermen continue their work, though their pace is often slower now. A fisherman sits quietly in his boat. His net rests beside him. For a time, he simply watches the water. The river surface ripples softly beneath a light breeze. A bird glides low across the water before disappearing toward the reeds. The fisherman has spent so many years here that he notices details others might miss. A slight movement beneath the surface. A change in the direction of a current. The behavior of birds nearby. These observations become second nature. Years of practice sharpen the senses. The river rewards those who pay attention. Nearby, another boat drifts slowly past. The fishermen exchange a brief greeting. Then both return to their work. Conversation is not always necessary. The river itself provides enough company. In the villages, life continues beneath the afternoon sun. The streets are somewhat quieter than they were during the busy morning hours. People move more slowly now. They conserve energy. They seek shade whenever possible. Mudbrick walls provide welcome protection from the heat. Doorways become cool gathering places. Courtyards offer small pockets of comfort. A woman sits beneath a shaded area while preparing vegetables for the evening meal. The work is steady but unhurried. Children play nearby, though even they seem less energetic beneath the intense sunlight. Occasionally a breeze enters the courtyard. Everyone notices it immediately. For a few seconds, the air feels lighter. Then the breeze moves on. Small comforts become meaningful during the hottest part of the day. A patch of shade. A drink of water. A place to sit for a moment. People learn to appreciate these simple things. Inside workshops, craftsmen continue their labor. The potters will turn steadily. The carpenter shapes wood with practiced hands. The weaver continues guiding thread through the loom. The rhythm of work remains constant. Not fast. Not slow. Simply steady. A carpenter pauses to inspect a piece of wood. The grain catches the sunlight coming through the doorway. He studies it carefully before making the next cut. Years of experience have taught him patience. Materials should be respected. Mistakes waste valuable resources. Good work requires attention. The carpenter understands that every object he creates may become part of someone's daily life. A stool. A tool handle. A storage chest. Simple items, perhaps. Yet useful items. Important items. The ordinary objects of daily life often matter more than grand monuments. People use them every day. They become part of family routines. Part of household memories. Part of ordinary existence. Across the village, weavers continue working within shaded rooms. The sound of the loom creates a gentle rhythm. Thread moves. Hands move. Hours pass. The work demands concentration but also patience. The finished cloth emerges slowly. Almost imperceptibly. A few inches at a time. The weaver does not focus on how much remains. Instead, attention stays on the task directly ahead. One row. Then another. Then another. Many forms of Egyptian labor follow this pattern. Large accomplishments are achieved through countless small actions repeated over time. The same principle guides the construction of buildings, the cultivation of crops, the management of households, the keeping of records. Everything progresses one step at a time. In administrative centers, scribes remain busy despite the afternoon heat. Documents continue arriving. Supplies continue being counted. Records continue growing. A scribe carefully reviews a list of stored grain. The work requires concentration. Numbers must match. Details must be accurate. The responsibility is significant. Food storage affects entire communities. Errors can create difficulties later. The scribe knows this. He checks his work carefully. Outside, bright sunlight fills the streets. Inside, the scratching of a brush against papyrus becomes one of the room's most common sounds. The atmosphere remains calm. Orderly. Predictable. Much like the larger society it helps organize. As the afternoon advances, merchants continue serving customers at the marketplace. The pace has slowed slightly. People are less eager to walk long distances beneath the strongest sunlight. Still, trade continues. A merchant arranges pottery upon a table. Another organizes baskets of food. Conversations rise and fall throughout the marketplace. News continues spreading from person to person. Stories travel quickly. Someone mentions a successful catch along the river. Someone else discusses crop conditions. A traveler shares information from another settlement. The marketplace acts almost like a living network of communication. Information flows through it every day. Not through written messages alone, but through voices. Through conversations. Through ordinary human interaction. Many people leave the marketplace carrying more than goods. They also carry news, observations, stories, knowledge. As the hours pass, fatigue becomes more noticeable. Workers feel it in different ways. A farmer feels it in his shoulders. A builder feels it in his back. A fisherman feels it in his arms. A scribe feels it in his eyes. A weaver feels it in her hands. Labor leaves traces upon the body. Yet people learn to live alongside this tiredness. It becomes familiar. Not pleasant, but familiar. Evening remains several hours away. The day is not finished. Responsibilities remain. Animals still require care. Fields still require attention. Tools still require maintenance. Meals still require preparation. The work continues. And yet, beneath the heat and effort, there is also a sense of order. People know where they belong. They know what needs to be done. The routines that organize Egyptian life provide structure and stability. The farmer knows tomorrow will begin much like today. The fisherman knows the river will still be flowing. The merchant knows customers will return. The potter knows more clay will wait upon the wheel. This predictability creates a quiet kind of comfort. The world feels understandable. The rhythm feels familiar. As the afternoon slowly begins its long journey toward evening, the sunlight softens almost imperceptibly. The shadows lengthen by tiny degrees. The worst heat will eventually pass. Workers know this. They can feel it coming. For now, they continue with steady hands and patient hearts, moving through another ordinary day beside the Nile, guided by routines as old and dependable as the river itself. Little by little, the afternoon begins to change. The shift is so gradual that most people do not notice it at first. The sun is still bright. The heat still lingers across the land. The fields remain busy. The workshops remain active. The Nile continues shining beneath the afternoon sky. Yet something is different. The shadows have begun to stretch. The light has softened slightly. The day is quietly moving toward evening. For workers throughout Egypt, this part of the day often brings a feeling of cautious relief. There is still work to do. Many tasks remain unfinished. But the most intense heat is beginning to loosen its hold. The air becomes a little easier to bear. The body responds almost immediately. Movements feel less difficult. Breathing feels easier. The promise of rest no longer seems far away. In the fields near the river, farmers continue their routines. A man walks slowly between rows of growing crops. His pace is measured. Hours of labor have already passed. His muscles feel tired. His hands are rough from years of work. Yet he continues with the quiet determination that has guided countless days before this one. The field around him glows beneath the afternoon light. The dark fertile soil contrasts with the pale desert beyond. The difference is striking. Life gathers close to the Nile. Water creates possibility. Without it, everything would be different. The farmer pauses near a section of crops that requires attention. He crouches low and examines the plants. The work demands observation as much as strength. A successful farmer learns to notice small changes. A leaf that appears unhealthy. A section of soil that feels too dry. A channel that no longer carries enough water. The smallest details often matter most. For generations, Egyptian farmers have built their lives around these observations. Knowledge accumulates slowly. Season after season. Flood after flood. Harvest after harvest. A lifetime passes this way. And still there is more to learn. Nearby, younger workers assist with various tasks. Some carry tools. Others transport baskets. Some help guide animals through the fields. Their work may be lighter than that of older laborers, but it remains important. Every contribution matters. The organization of daily work depends upon cooperation. Families function together. Communities function together. No one accomplishes everything alone. Along the Nile, the afternoon light dances across the water. The river appears calmer now. The breeze has strengthened slightly. Not enough to disturb the surface greatly. Just enough to create small ripples that catch the sunlight. Fishermen continue working. Some prepare to return toward shore. Others remain on the water a little longer. The decision depends on experience, on conditions, on the day's success. A fisherman lifts a net slowly from the river. Water pours back into the Nile in shimmering streams. His arms ache from repetition. The movement has been performed countless times. Lift. Pull. Inspect. Prepare again. The rhythm becomes almost meditative. The body knows what to do. The mind drifts quietly between concentration and habit. Many occupations create similar states. Repetition becomes familiar. Comforting, even. A worker who has performed the same task for many years often moves without conscious thought. Skill settles deep into the muscles. The hands remember. The eyes remember. The body remembers. Farther away, near a larger settlement, boats travel steadily along the river. Some carry goods. Others carry travelers. A few transport supplies intended for storage facilities or markets. The Nile serves as a highway connecting communities throughout Egypt. Without it, travel would be much slower. Much more difficult. Merchants depend upon the river. Officials depend upon the river. Families depend upon the river. Its influence reaches into nearly every part of life. As the afternoon progresses, activity increases inside homes. Although many workers remain outside, household responsibilities continue. A woman enters a storage room and examines the family's supplies. Grain. Oil. Dried foods. Every household depends upon careful management. Resources must last. Waste is avoided whenever possible. Planning becomes an important skill. The future is never completely certain. Preparation offers security. Nearby, another woman begins preparing ingredients for the evening meal. The work starts long before anyone sits down to eat. Grain must be ground. Dough prepared. Vegetables cleaned. Cooking fires arranged. Meals require labor. Daily life depends upon countless tasks that often go unnoticed. A loaf of bread appears simple. Yet many hours of work stand behind it. Fields must be cultivated. Grain harvested. Grain transported. Grain ground. Dough prepared. Bread baked. Every step involves human effort. Every step involves time. Inside workshops, craftsmen continue their afternoon labor. The atmosphere is quieter than during the morning rush. Many workers settle into a steady rhythm. A potter shapes another vessel. His fingers glide across damp clay. The material responds instantly. The vessel rises slowly beneath his hands. A slight adjustment here. A slight adjustment there. Years of practice guide every movement. The finished jar will eventually leave the workshop. Perhaps it will store water. Perhaps grain. Perhaps oil. The potter may never know where it ends up. His work becomes part of someone else's daily routine. This happens throughout Egyptian society. One person's labor supports another. The connections are endless. A carpenter finishes repairing a damaged tool handle. Nearby, an apprentice sweeps wood shavings from the floor. The smell of timber hangs in the warm air. Sunlight enters through the doorway at a lower angle now. The changing light reveals the passage of time. Even without clocks, workers understand the day's progress. The sky tells them. The shadows tell them. The light itself tells them. In administrative buildings, scribes continue working through stacks of records. The room remains relatively cool compared to the world outside. A scribe pauses briefly to rest his hand. Hours of writing create their own kind of fatigue. His fingers feel stiff. His eyes feel tired. Yet the work remains unfinished. Additional documents wait nearby. Inventories must be completed. Records must remain organized. The responsibilities never entirely disappear. Like farmers and fishermen, scribes live within cycles of continuous work. Different tasks. Different tools. The same persistence. Outside, the marketplace remains active, though the atmosphere has changed. The busiest hours have passed. Some customers have already returned home. Others arrive late, hoping to complete purchases before evening. Merchants adjust their displays. Goods are counted. Conversations continue. The marketplace feels slightly more relaxed now. The pressure of midday has faded. People speak more leisurely. Children move through the crowd carrying small purchases. Neighbors pause to exchange news. The social life of the community unfolds naturally here. Many friendships are maintained through these daily encounters. Not through grand gatherings. Not through formal events. Simply through seeing one another again and again. Day after day. Year after year. As the sun begins its slow descent toward the western horizon, workers throughout Egypt become increasingly aware of the approaching evening. Not because they are watching the sky constantly, but because their bodies recognize the signs. The heat is easing. The light is changing. The air feels different. The promise of rest grows closer. A builder working near a construction site lifts one final load before pausing. His shoulders ache. Dust covers his arms. The day's effort weighs heavily upon him. Yet there is satisfaction in completed work. A repaired wall. A finished section of stonework. A task crossed quietly from today's responsibilities. Small accomplishments accumulate over time. Days become months. Months become years. Great structures rise through countless ordinary workdays exactly like this one. As afternoon slowly fades toward evening, Egypt continues moving according to its familiar rhythm. The Nile flows. The fields produce food. The workshops create useful goods. The markets exchange supplies. The households prepare for night. Every part supports every other part. Together they form a vast network of routines, responsibilities, and relationships. And beneath the softening sunlight, ordinary workers continue their tasks with the same patience their ancestors showed before them, carrying the ancient world gently forward toward another peaceful evening beside the river. The afternoon slowly loosens its grip on the land. The change is gentle. Almost invisible. Yet across Egypt, workers begin to feel it. The sun is no longer directly overhead. Its light has softened into warmer shades. Long shadows begin stretching across roads, courtyards, and fields. The air remains warm, but the harsh edge of midday is fading away. For many people, this is their favorite part of the working day. Not because the labor is finished. There are still tasks to complete. But because evening is beginning to announce itself. The promise of rest hangs quietly in the air. Along the banks of the Nile, golden sunlight reflects across the water. The river appears calmer now. Its surface glimmers beneath the lowering sun. Small boats move steadily toward shore. The fishermen have spent many hours upon the water. Their shoulders are tired. Their hands ache from handling ropes and nets. Yet there is comfort in the journey home. A fisherman guides his boat toward a familiar landing place. He has approached this stretch of river thousands of times. Every bend feels known. Every cluster of reeds feels familiar. The river has become part of the landscape of his memory. As the boat reaches shallow water, he steps carefully onto the muddy bank. Nearby, others are doing the same. Nets are gathered. Equipment is checked. Fish are sorted into containers. The work is not entirely finished. Tomorrow must always be considered. A damaged net repaired today prevents problems tomorrow. A properly stored tool remains useful longer. These small acts of preparation quietly organize much of Egyptian life. People rarely wait until the last moment. Experience teaches the value of readiness. Nearby, birds circle above the river. Some settle among the reeds. Others disappear toward distant nesting places. The sounds of evening are beginning. Different from the sounds of morning. Different from the sounds of midday. Softer somehow. Less hurried. More peaceful. In the fields, farmers continue their final tasks before returning home. The light now falls across the crops at a low angle, bathing everything in warm gold. A farmer walks one last inspection through a section of land. He checks water levels. Examines young plants. Studies the condition of irrigation channels. The work is familiar. Comfortably familiar. His body knows the routine. His eyes know what to look for. After years of repetition, many actions require little conscious thought. The mind settles into a calm rhythm. The farmer pauses beside a channel where water flows steadily through dark soil. For a moment he simply watches. The gentle movement of water. The rustling of reeds. The distant voices of workers preparing to leave. Simple scenes like this have unfolded beside the Nile for countless generations. A grandfather once stood here. A father stood here. A son may stand here someday. The landscape changes slowly. The routines endure. Throughout Egypt, paths leading back toward villages begin filling with workers. Some travel alone. Others walk in small groups. Dust rises softly beneath their sandals. Conversations drift through the evening air. The topics are often ordinary. The condition of crops. The behavior of animals. Plans for tomorrow. News from neighboring families. Ordinary conversations for ordinary lives. Yet these moments matter. They strengthen friendships. They strengthen communities. People share the burdens of daily life through conversation as much as through labor. The road home becomes part of the workday itself. A quiet transition between effort and rest. As workers return, villages gradually come alive in a different way. The daytime rhythm begins shifting toward an evening rhythm. Children appear near doorways. Dogs wander through narrow streets. Neighbors greet one another. The sounds of household activity increase. Cooking fires are prepared. Water is carried. Food is organized. A different kind of labor begins. Inside one mudbrick home, a woman prepares dough for baking. The familiar scent of grain fills the room. Her hands move confidently. Years of practice guide every motion. Nearby, a child watches carefully. Perhaps helping. Perhaps simply observing. Many lessons are taught this way. Not through formal instruction, but through daily participation. Children absorb routines by living among them. The knowledge becomes part of them long before they fully understand it. Outside, sunlight glows against the walls of neighboring homes. The entire village seems bathed in warm amber light. It is a beautiful time of day. Not dramatic. Not extraordinary. Simply beautiful in a quiet and familiar way. The kind of beauty people may stop noticing because they see it so often. Yet it remains there. Every evening. Every season. Year after year. In the workshops, craftsmen begin preparing for the end of the day. A potter examines vessels created during the afternoon. Some are nearly finished. Others require additional work tomorrow. The clay catches the evening light. Rows of jars stand silently along shelves and tables. The workshop feels calmer now. The busiest hours have passed. The potter cleans his tools carefully. A few extra minutes spent organizing today saves time tomorrow. This principle appears everywhere in Egyptian life. Preparation. Routine. Order. Small actions repeated consistently over time. Nearby, a carpenter stores tools inside a wooden chest. Each tool has its place. A missing tool can create delays. A damaged tool can create difficulties. Good workers learn to care for their equipment. The habits become automatic. Almost invisible. Yet these habits support entire occupations. In administrative buildings, scribes also approach the end of their workday. Documents are organized. Records are stored. Tables are cleared. The room grows quieter. A scribe reviews one final record before setting down his brush. His eyes feel tired. His hand feels stiff. Though his work differs greatly from that of farmers and builders, he understands fatigue just as well. Every occupation leaves its mark. Some marks appear on the body. Others appear within the mind. As the sun lowers further, the marketplace begins slowly winding down. Merchants count supplies. Unsold goods are arranged for storage. Conversations continue, but the atmosphere has changed. The urgency of business fades. People become more relaxed. Some linger simply to talk. To exchange stories. To enjoy the cooler air. The marketplace serves many purposes beyond trade. It is a gathering place. A meeting place. A place where daily life unfolds. Throughout Egypt, countless relationships are strengthened through these repeated encounters. The same faces. The same greetings. The same familiar routines. Over years, these small interactions create strong bonds. The sun now approaches the western horizon. The light grows softer with every passing moment. Palm trees cast long shadows across the ground. The Nile reflects deep gold and copper colors. Birds continue their evening flights overhead. The air feels noticeably cooler. Workers sense it immediately. The day is ending. A farmer reaches his home and places his tools against a wall. For a moment he simply stands quietly. The work is done. At least for today. His muscles ache pleasantly from effort. The familiar tiredness settles into his body. Nearby, family members move about preparing the evening meal. The smell of baking bread drifts through the air. Children laugh somewhere down the street. A neighbor calls out a greeting. The village feels alive. But alive in a softer way than before. A calmer way. The pace has slowed. The demands of labor are fading. One by one, households begin gathering together. The long day starts drawing inward. Toward family. Toward food. Toward rest. And as the sun finally sinks lower beyond the western edge of the world, warm golden light spreads across the Nile for one last time, wrapping fields, boats, workshops, and homes in a quiet glow before the gentle arrival of evening beside the ancient river. The sun slips lower and lower toward the western horizon. Its bright afternoon light has softened into a warm glow that covers the land in shades of gold, amber, and pale orange. The harsh brightness of midday is gone now. In its place comes a gentler light that seems to rest softly upon the river, the fields, and the mudbrick villages scattered across Egypt. For many workers, this is the moment they have been waiting for. Not because they dislike their work. Most have accepted labor as a natural part of life. But because the body welcomes rest. After hours beneath the sun, after endless walking, lifting, carrying, digging, weaving, writing, rowing, and building, evening feels like a reward. The Nile reflects the colors of the sky. The water appears almost molten beneath the fading sunlight. Small waves shimmer with gold. The river that watched the day begin now watches it slowly come to a close. Along its banks, fishermen complete their final tasks. A man kneels beside a net spread across the ground. The fibers are worn in places. Small repairs must be made. His fingers move carefully through the mesh. The work requires patience. There is no need to rush. Darkness has not yet arrived. The evening air feels pleasant against his skin. Nearby, another fisherman secures a boat for the night. The rope creaks softly as it tightens. The boat rocks gently against the shore. Everything is being prepared for tomorrow. Tomorrow always waits. The routines of Egypt never truly stop. They simply pause for a few hours before beginning again. In the fields, the last workers are returning home. The landscape looks different now. The low sun stretches long shadows across the earth. Irrigation channels glow with reflected light. The tops of grain plants shimmer in the evening breeze. Birds move among the reeds. The world feels quieter. More peaceful. A farmer walks slowly along a familiar path. His tools rest across one shoulder. The day has left its mark upon him. His feet ache. His hands feel heavy. His back is stiff. Yet there is comfort in the tiredness. It is the tiredness of completed work. The tiredness of effort given honestly. As he approaches the village, he begins seeing signs of evening life everywhere. Smoke rises from cooking fires. Children play near doorways. Families gather in courtyards. Voices drip through the warm air. The village seems to welcome him home. Many people experience the same feeling at this hour. A sense of returning. Returning to family. Returning to food. Returning to familiar spaces. Returning to rest. Inside homes throughout Egypt, evening preparations are underway. A woman removes bread from an oven. Warm air escapes into the room. The smell fills the house almost immediately. Nearby, vegetables are prepared for supper. Water jars are checked. Storage containers are opened and closed. The work of maintaining a household continues even as daylight fades. These responsibilities are rarely celebrated. No monuments are built in their honor. Yet they are among the most important tasks in daily life. Without them, everything becomes more difficult. The smooth functioning of family life depends upon countless small acts of care. Many of these acts happen quietly. Without attention. Without praise. Yet they shape every day. A child helps carry a basket across a courtyard. An older sibling gathers water. A grandmother folds cloth and stores supplies. Everyone contributes in some way. The household operates through cooperation. Just as fields depend upon workers. Just as boats depend upon fishermen. Just as markets depend upon merchants. The entire society depends upon people helping one another. As evening deepens, the temperature becomes more comfortable. The heat stored in walls and roads slowly begins to fade. A gentle breeze moves through the village. Palm leaves rustle softly overhead. The sounds of daytime labor continue disappearing. Fewer tools strike wood. Fewer carts move along roads. Fewer voices call instructions across fields. The day is slowly settling down. In workshops, craftsmen complete their final duties. A potter arranges newly finished vessels in careful rows. A carpenter checks tools before storing them away. A weaver rolls fabric and clears the workspace. The routines at the end of the day are almost as important as those at the beginning. Organization saves effort. Preparation prevents problems. Workers understand this through experience. Years of labor teach practical wisdom. A well-maintained tool lasts longer. A clean workspace improves efficiency. A properly stored supply remains useful. These simple habits become part of everyday life. They are repeated so often that many workers barely think about them anymore. Yet they help create the order that keeps everything functioning smoothly. In administrative buildings, scribes finish reviewing records. Papyrus documents are stored carefully. Ink containers are sealed. Work surfaces are cleared. The room grows quieter. The day's numbers and inventories are complete. Tomorrow will bring new records. New deliveries. New calculations. For now, the work can rest. A scribe steps outside and notices the evening sky. The colors are changing rapidly now. Orange gives way to deeper shades. Purple begins appearing near the horizon. The first stars will soon arrive. Across the marketplace, merchants begin closing their stalls. Goods are packed away. Baskets are covered. Supplies are counted. The crowd grows smaller as people return home. What was busy and noisy during the day now becomes calmer. The marketplace exhales. Its work is nearly done. A merchant exchanges a final conversation with a neighboring trader. They have known each other for years. Perhaps decades. Tomorrow they will meet again. The same familiar faces. The same familiar routines. Many friendships in Egypt are built this way. Not through grand adventures, but through ordinary days shared side by side. As the sun finally reaches the horizon, the entire landscape seems to pause. For a few moments, the light becomes especially beautiful. The Nile glows like polished metal. Palm trees appear dark against the sky. The desert beyond the fertile land fades into soft shadows. People notice these moments, even if only briefly. A farmer standing outside his home. A fisherman beside his boat. A merchant closing a stall. A child playing in a courtyard. For an instant, they all share the same evening sky. Then the sun slips away. Slowly. Quietly. The day comes to an end. Darkness begins gathering across the land. One by one, lamps appear inside homes. Tiny points of golden light. Small flames flickering behind doorways and windows. The village takes on a different appearance now. A nighttime appearance. The world grows smaller. More intimate. More peaceful. Families gather together for their evening meals. The sounds of conversation drip through the cooling air. Bread is shared. Fish is eaten. Stories are exchanged. Children listen. Adults relax. The burdens of the day become lighter for a while. The fields can wait until morning. The boats can wait until morning. The workshops can wait until morning. For now, Egypt belongs to the evening. The Nile flows quietly through the darkness. The stars begin appearing overhead. The air cools further. And throughout the villages beside the ancient river, tired workers settle into the gentle rhythm of night, allowing another long day of labor to slowly fade behind them beneath the vast and peaceful Egyptian sky. Night settles fully across the land. The last traces of daylight disappear beyond the western horizon, and ancient Egypt enters its quietest hours. Above the Nile, countless stars shine in the darkness. Without bright city lights, the sky appears vast and deep. Constellations stretch from one horizon to the other. The Milky Way forms a pale band across the heavens. The night feels enormous. Yet down below, life becomes smaller and more intimate. The wide world of fields, roads, markets, and river traffic shrinks to the warm circles of lamplight glowing inside homes. Throughout villages along the Nile, families gather together after the long working day. The evening meal is often the calmest part of the day. People sit close together. Bread is shared. Fish may be placed in simple bowls. Vegetables are passed from hand to hand. Conversations unfold slowly. No one needs to hurry now. The labor is finished. Tomorrow's responsibilities can wait until morning. A farmer sits beside his family. The muscles in his shoulders still ache from the day's work. His hands remain rough and calloused. Dust lingers on his sandals. Yet as he eats, a sense of peace settles over him. The field is behind him now. The irrigation channels are behind him. The heat of the afternoon is behind him. For a little while, he can simply enjoy the company of those around him. Nearby, a child speaks excitedly about something seen earlier in the day. Perhaps a bird along the river. Perhaps a boat arriving from another village. Perhaps a small adventure that felt important to young eyes. The adults listen with patient smiles. Children bring energy into the evening. Their stories fill homes with life. Across Egypt, similar scenes unfold in countless households. Ordinary families sharing ordinary meals. No historian records these conversations. No monument preserves them. Yet they are among the most important moments in daily life. Families are built through evenings like these. Relationships grow through evenings like these. Memories are formed through evenings like these. As the meal ends, some people remain seated for a while. The evening air feels pleasant. A breeze enters through an open doorway. The flame of an oil lamp flickers softly. The shadows on the walls move gently. The atmosphere becomes increasingly calm. In another home, an elderly man tells stories from long ago. His voice is slow and steady. Children gather nearby to listen. Perhaps he speaks about a flood that came many years earlier. Perhaps he remembers a particularly successful harvest. Perhaps he describes relatives who are no longer alive. The details matter less than the act itself. The sharing of memory. The passing of experience from one generation to another. Ancient Egypt preserves much of its knowledge this way. Not only through written records, but through conversation. Through storytelling. Through families spending time together after sunset. Outside, the village pathways grow quieter. Fewer people move about now. The day's activity has faded. Most households remain close to home. The darkness encourages stillness. Oil lamps provide light, but only in small amounts. Beyond their glow, shadows fill the spaces between buildings. The village feels peaceful. Safe. Familiar. A dog curls up beside a doorway. Goats rest quietly within their enclosures. The sounds of animals become less frequent. Even they seem ready for sleep. Along the Nile, the river continues its endless journey. The water reflects moonlight and starlight. Gentle currents move through the darkness. Reeds rustle softly along the banks. A tide boat creaks against its rope. The sounds are subtle, easy to miss. Yet they form part of the river's nightly song. A fisherman standing outside his home for a few moments listens to these familiar sounds. Tomorrow he will return to the water. Tomorrow he will cast his nets again. Tomorrow he will watch the river for signs and patterns. But tonight, he simply listens. The Nile has shaped his entire life. Its presence is constant. Its rhythms familiar. Its waters dependable. Many Egyptians feel a deep connection to the river. Not in a dramatic way. Not through grand declarations. Simply through everyday experience. The Nile is always there. Morning and night. Season after season. Year after year. Inside workshops, darkness now fills spaces that were busy only hours earlier. The potter's wheel stands still. The carpenter's tools rest quietly in storage. The weaver's loom waits patiently for another day. The buildings themselves seem to sleep. Dust settles. Silence grows. Work has paused. The tools that shaped the day now rest alongside the workers who used them. In administrative centers, records remain stored safely. Papyrus documents sit neatly arranged. The scribes have gone home. Their work, like all other work, has its limits. Even the most organized records must wait until morning. The entire kingdom slows during the night. Not completely. Some people remain awake. Guards watch over certain areas. Boat crews occasionally travel after dark. Temple duties may continue in some places. Yet compared to the activity of daylight, the night feels remarkably quiet. A watchman walks slowly along a path near a storage building. The moon casts pale light across the ground. His footsteps are soft. Measured. Unhurried. He listens carefully to the sounds around him. Most nights are uneventful. Hours pass peacefully. The work requires patience more than action. Meanwhile, inside homes, tiredness spreads from person to person. Children begin drifting toward sleep first. A young boy rubs his eyes. A young girl leans against a parent. Their energy finally fades after a day filled with movement and curiosity. Soon they settle onto sleeping mats. The room grows quieter. Adults continue talking for a little while longer. The conversations become softer. Slower. Eventually they too prepare for sleep. Many homes are simple. The furniture is limited. The sleeping arrangements practical. Yet comfort often comes less from possessions and more from familiarity. People rest where they have rested for years. Surrounded by family. Surrounded by familiar sounds. Surrounded by routines that rarely change. A woman adjusts a lamp before extinguishing the flame. The room immediately becomes darker. Only moonlight remains. Outside, crickets sing in the night. The Nile flows steadily onward. A breeze drifts through the village. One by one, homes fall silent. Breathing becomes slow and regular. Bodies recover from labor. Muscles relax. The demands of the day finally disappear. This nightly rest is essential. Ancient Egyptian life requires enormous effort. Fields demand attention. Boats demand attention. Workshops demand attention. Households demand attention. Without sleep, none of it could continue. Night becomes a kind of gift. A pause. A recovery. A chance for tired workers to regain their strength before another dawn arrives. Hours pass quietly. The stars move across the sky. The moon climbs higher. The village remains still. Only occasional sounds interrupt the silence. A distant animal. A soft splash from the river. A breeze moving through palm leaves. The ancient world rests. And somewhere beyond the eastern horizon, still hidden by darkness, another morning slowly prepares itself, waiting for the moment when the first pale light will once again touch the waters of the Nile and begin another ordinary day in the carefully organized lives of Egypt's workers. The night grows deeper over the Nile. The villages are quiet now. The lamps have long since gone dark. The last conversations have faded into silence. Across the fields, the irrigation channels rest beneath the moonlight. The roads lie empty. The workshops stand still. The marketplaces sleep. Only the river continues its endless journey. Slowly. Steadily. Patiently. The waters move through the darkness just as they did yesterday, and just as they will tomorrow. Along its banks, generations of workers have lived their lives. Farmers walked to their fields before dawn. Fishermen followed the currents of the river. Scribes bent over sheets of papyrus. Builders lifted stone beneath the sun. Merchants arranged their goods in busy marketplaces. Parents prepared meals. Children learned the routines of daily life. And when evening arrived, they all returned home beneath the same sky. Most of their names have been forgotten. The years carried them away. The centuries passed. The villages changed. The people came and went like ripples upon the river. Yet their quiet lives helped shape one of the world's oldest civilizations. Not through great battles. Not through grand speeches. But through ordinary days. Through patient work. Through shared meals. Through small acts of care repeated again and again. And now, as we leave them behind, Egypt rests peacefully beneath the stars. The warm desert wind drifts softly across the land. Palm leaves whisper in the darkness. The reeds along the river sway gently. Moonlight glimmers upon the water. Far away, a night bird calls once and then falls silent. The Nile continues flowing. Unhurried. Ancient. Endless. The workers sleep. The fields sleep. The boats sleep. The villages sleep. And the river keeps watch over them all. So allow the sounds of the ancient world to grow distant now. Let the dusty roads fade into darkness. Let the workshops become still. Let the gentle movement of the Nile carry away the last thoughts of the day. And there, beside the quiet river beneath a sky full of stars, ancient Egypt settles into silence. Soft. Peaceful. Calm. Until only the river remains. Flowing quietly through the night.